My boss laughed about cutting my pay, but I got revenge.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I had so much respect for my manager until I realized she's a flying monkey to our CEO and possibly a self-absorbed person herself. People started leaving after a court case was revealed last year, and I keep having to remind myself that their treatment of me wasn't just because they were overwhelmed. These were active choices they made. By the way, this comes from In Need of Knowledge, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
And I'm Angie.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, the passive aggression and subtle put-downs became too much. It felt like psychological warfare, and I had to convince myself I wasn't crazy. When my pay was decreased and I requested clarity with number breakdowns, it was like a switch flipped. My review was suddenly moved up per my request, and HR was added to the meeting. It's also the little thing. The past couple of weeks, my manager asked me to edit a document, then sent me a different template 2 or 3 times, saying she changed her mind, seemingly just to waste my time. Or she'd ask me to reach out to somebody, then tell me to say never mind because I should have known we didn't need it.
What? You're my boss, and you told me to do this.
Right. What do you mean I should know that we didn't need it?
Yeah, what?
These instances didn't frustrate me on their own, but I could feel the animosity and baiting behind them. I hit my breaking point yesterday when I was asked what I was complaining about now.
Oh my god.
After being quieter than usual. I'd gotten a call that morning that my family member was passing away. I had out-of-office work meetings the rest of the day, per my manager's request, and she got upset that I wasn't coming back to the office afterward, saying I should have let her know I was leaving early. I made it clear I wasn't taking a lunch break because these tasks would take up my afternoon, but to let me know if I needed to go to the office instead. She stopped after that. I'm hoping to leave soon, but it's awful realizing you spent years working for people who mistreated their authority and took out their frustrations on employees instead of improving the company. There's so much more that happened, and I'm ashamed I put up with this for as long as I did. I almost feel scared posting this because somebody might tell me I'm wrong about these people, but I know I'm right. Comments. What's worse is realizing it, but then making excuses for it and getting tricked again and again. That's what happened to me. I was finally able to get out 6 weeks ago, but I'm still sorting through all the stuff I let myself put up with. The truth is, my self-absorbed boss was so cunning and could turn up the charm when needed. And truthfully, I was trying to protect myself, so I let a lot go. I didn't have a choice but to be tricked. All I can do is echo Dr. Romani and say, it's not you. They've been doing this and they'll continue to do this. It's not your fault that you didn't see it. We're human, and either we want to believe the best in others, me, or we do what we can to get by in our social situations. Sometimes that means chalking up bad behavior to workflow. We have an update.
Oh boy.
But, yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot. That's very frustrating. It's like these are the people in charge.
Yeah.
That are supposed to be, like, helping you.
Yeah.
And they're actively going against that.
I had a job at one point where they tried to claim that I was leaving early, and I was like, it went on for a while, and I was like, no, it's like 5:30. Like, this is a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
I'm not even taking a lunch, so I'm already 30 minutes over, and they would get so mad, and finally it just got to the point that I was like, when do you want me to leave?
Yeah.
Like, what hours are ideal for you?
Yeah.
And they kind of were like taken aback by it, and they were like, oh, like 6:30?
Oh my god.
And I was like, great, and that's all you had to say.
Right, like, just ask me to stay later. Like, oh my gosh.
But we have an update. My annual review was yesterday, moved up per my request because I'd asked for numbers regarding my pay decrease. Also forgot OP had pay doc.
That's right.
And they're doing this. I'd held my own and actually got a decent raise, probably because we have no employees left and they need me.
Oh my god.
I'm proud of how professionally I handled this conversation, considering the masks were now off. It was very difficult and demeaning. My manager laughed about my decrease and said, I just needed to do some math because I'd started by saying I was confused. I stared neutrally at her and said nothing until she picked the conversation back up. It was insanely awkward for her and felt amazing.
That's a great way to go about it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Just silent.
Or the
let her figure it out.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah, like, what do you mean?
Yeah. I didn't say this previously in the story, but I'm going back to school in the fall. They know this, and I even offered to help train somebody during my review since I'll be busy in a few months. I was genuinely trying to make the next few weeks easier on both me and my employers. Important context, we have Fridays work from home. I don't take lunch breaks when I'm at the office, and I also work weekends as needed. I'm always available when these people needed me. I've pretty much never said no to helping out. In her recap email, she let me know in the last paragraph that since I mentioned feeling busy, I could alleviate this by working 10-hour days or coming back to the office on Friday since this schedule doesn't work for everyone and she's just throwing out a few ideas to help. I know this might seem like a normal boss thing to say, but it would single me out when I already worked the schedule I described. Just pushing the responsibility back on me or trying to guilt trip me into working harder instead of fixing the actual problem. A short-term power play that's only going to hurt her because, shocker, I'm not doing that. This woman would drown without me there. I've saved her over and over again the past 3 years with little in return because I had respect for her and didn't understand she was setting me up to fail in the long run. I have a bunch of meetings on my calendar next week for duties she is passing off to me. I've never not worked on my PTO, paid time off days. Nothing crazy, but answering the phone and emails as needed. Well, I'm going to an important and saddening funeral this weekend, as they know. What she doesn't know is that I'm also taking PTO the entire next week and silencing my phone, email, and work line. She thought she could guilt or intimidate me into submission, but she's about to understand what it's like without me there. I don't care if I'm fired because I've put enough research into my exit plan and am in a comfortable place to be let go. They can if they want, but they're already in a horrible position. My plan going forward is to take a PTO day anytime she's rude or passive aggressive to me until I either don't have any left, and I have a lot, or I quit or get fired. If they'd just been kind to me, I would have trained somebody at my new rate, but now I'll be requiring a bonus. I would have done a lot of things if I was shown some basic human decency. I'm checked out emotionally and I've already won the long game. I'm pretty happy. I'm not telling anybody in my office where I go to school or work next until much, much after I leave, if at all. This chapter will be behind me soon and these pathetic people will be nothing to me. We have some comments.
They will be nothing to me.
You mean nothing. Commenter 1. Excellent job. Using silence as a tool to gain power in a dynamic is extremely powerful. I've done the same, and it's amazing to see how the power instantly shifts to you. It's awesome that you're willing to use your leverage of being willing to leave and using PTO days to your advantage. The cards are in your hands, and they can't afford to lose you. Absolutely demand a bonus to train someone new. They would use everything in their power to extract everything they can out of you. Why shouldn't you do the same? Commenter 2. Making her feel awkward must have been a highlight for you. I had a situation with a former manager that takes glee when writing someone up and then delivering it to them. At some point, most, if not everyone, had been written up for things whether relevant or not, including me. I kept pointing out a few things that didn't make sense, and I finally very firmly said, "Oh, I didn't know that our personal time off the clock was allowed to be looked at by the company. Is that in the company handbook?" She knew she messed up.
Ooh.
I left a few months later.
Ooh, you got her. Wow.
And by the way, you always got full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, favorite podcast app, search up OK Storytime. Got a little bit left. We got another update, actually.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, and I saw the title.
Oh, boy.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, dude, you've got it.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, she said that she left a few months later, right? So,
yeah.
So you're out of there.
She's gone.
Dipping. Yeah, but I think that's like the best way to go. Just like, oh, this isn't right. This is not how we're supposed to work. This is not in the rules. So you cannot complain about me doing this.
I love when people use like, fine, if you want to play by the rules, I will play so closely by the
Yeah,
rules
yeah.
that you're annoyed by it.
yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, I'll take my PTO and I will actually be fully out of office, cannot reach me.
Right.
You go, girl.
You go.
We have an update.
Okay.
Update 2, my boss resigned a month after I did.
Whoa.
I've moved cities and started my new job, so I'm happy overall, but floored by the text I got from my old coworker yesterday. After months of belittlement, name-calling, trying to get me to do shady stuff to our books, and making jabs about the tough job market during my final 2 weeks, she quits?
Huh.
The company has now lost 3 employees since March, and there are only 4 left, so it's obviously a sinking ship. I feel vindicated since this means I was right in thinking her role wouldn't be sustainable without me there. I had the calmest, most calculated exit that allowed me to shred her dignity and keep mine without giving a reaction. But I'm just curious as to what the final straw was. That's the end of that story.
My boss pushed me to the edge and I finally snapped.
Ooh, what'd you do?
I wanted to share my story before I face a big day in my life tomorrow with my management team. I've been around self-absorbed people my whole life. I may not have known it at the time, but after a lot of therapy and introspection, I realized they've been around me more often than not. I was raised by a self-absorbed person. I've been in romantic relationships with many, and now I'm working for one. And by the way, this comes from Less Command 300. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. And I'm Angie.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We're just going to guess what we would do in this situation. But let us know what you would do in the comments. So, OP says, I've been with this company for 5 years. I was signed off from work for most of last year following a mental breakdown after surviving a 3-year relationship with the most dangerous self-absorbed person I've encountered to date. I was in the hospital for 3 months.
Oh my God.
Jeez. I got out, got clean and sober, and got back into work slowly. I love my job, and with a lot of hard work on my part, not only did I settle back in, I started to thrive. And then everything changed. I was assigned a new team leader. This woman has been here for years, but this is the first time that I've ever had to work with her. The discomfort I feel from simply being in her presence is intense and oh so familiar. At this point, I'm aware that maybe I've been around these types of people for so long that I'm just scared everyone is like that. But the patterns are so obvious and distinct. From the moment I started to excel, something switched. In front of watchful eyes, she's the nicest person ever. Behind closed doors, it's picking holes in my work, putting me down, not taking accountability when pulled up on her own behavior, and the way she talks to me, dismissing my feelings and making me feel like I'm the problem. I've been reduced to tears 3 times in the last week, following interactions with this woman. Historically, I would have suffered in silence, taken substances to numb the pain, or called in sick to avoid the issue altogether. But last week, I snapped. I had reached my limit. I went home in tears again, composed myself, then composed a long, polite, and assertive email to higher management. I attached the emails that my team leader had been sending me and examples of my work that weren't good enough, despite feedback from my colleagues saying differently. I said that I refuse from this point on to be in a room alone with this person again, and that I have no interest in a mediated conversation where my feelings can be invalidated because of a breakdown in communication or whatever spin they choose to put on it. I kindly requested that it be arranged so that I can report to someone else. The other team leaders I've worked for previously are lovely, and I have never had this experience with them. I also made it clear that if this request cannot be accommodated, then I will be leaving the firm. I got an email back from the big boss, for lack of a better term, thanking me for speaking up and saying they would refer to HR and get back to me. Okay, action is being taken.
That's great.
I can only assume they are doing this to cover their own butts, as I'm not interested in going to war or raising complaints. I just want a solution. Yesterday, I got a message from one of the managers. I get on well with this person, and he has always spoken highly of me and my work. He said that after speaking with HR, he would now like to speak with me face to face in the office tomorrow, just us, which I accepted. Do we believe that that's happening?
I'm just kind of like at the point where it's already to HR. I don't think that there should be that meeting to like resolve things without out HR because the whole point of HR is
Right.
to have that mediated meeting.
Right.
So why is he trying to like go around that
Yeah,
to be
exactly.
like, we can meet before that meeting? It just worries me a little.
Right. Yeah, because it's like, even if OP said that like she wasn't interested in meeting with HR,
Right.
it's still like, if you're gonna push for a meeting, you should push
Right.
for that meeting.
It still went to the point of like HR was discussed. So now I'm kind of
Right.
like, if we're gonna have one, let's bring
Yeah.
him in.
A little skeptical. I did a little calendar snooping and can see that he has a meeting with the team leader a few hours after mine. It's important to note that during my ill health last year, I was under the occupational health team's umbrella. I know people will have their opinions on this next statement, but I have been open and honest about my mental health and regular use battles with selected management from the get-go. I've always been of the opinion that no one can help me if I don't tell them what's wrong. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And of course, there is the classic, this is a safe space mantra, which I've always been a sucker for. So, tomorrow's the day. I will either get a solution where I can report to someone else and carry on with my job, or I'll be coming home and touching up the old CV. Regardless, this has all gone too far, and I have worked too hard to go through this all over again. I have too much to lose now. I would rather deal with the insecurity that comes with unemployment than the insidious emotional turmoil that these monsters go around inflicting on people. It's a shame, but I know how this goes. The only way to win with these people is by not playing. A job is a job, and if I do leave, they will already be looking for replacements before I'm even out the door. Nothing is worth risking my well-being, my sobriety, and my quality of life for. And we do have some comments, but do you have any comments before we get into those?
I guess I never really would have thought about like going to your boss about like previous like substance use and stuff. But I could totally see how that would be good for like if there's company parties or something, like just being like heads up, like maybe it's not at a bar or something like that. Like, so I think that's a good idea to something to do. Not really related to the story, but
I mean,
new insight.
Yeah,
for
totally.
me.
Right. I mean, especially if like, you know, if she got out of that bad relationship and was in the hospital for 3 months, like
that's a lot.
Yeah, like if anything were to come up again, like it, you know, if she were to fall back into her old ways or something, then it's like at least they know, so they can, you know if she like leaves for a day or something like that. Like if she just doesn't show up to work, she can like explain and they would already know about the situation. But yeah, I think you're right. Your quality of life should not be risked for this situation. And I think the fact that you said that you do not want to be in a room alone with her again, I think that's huge.
That says everything that you need to, right?
Yeah,
there,
honestly.
Like, you should always have safety at work. Like, you shouldn't feel threatened by someone that you there with.
Yeah, totally. We do have some comments. Comment number 1 says, I feel your journey is like mine. I was struggling between highly competent contributor to dreading the next meeting. I left and my boss showed their colors at the end. Haven't heard a peep since. This won't be your last self-absorbed person, but it could be the last time you struggle with one. OP replied, I really liked your last sentence. I hope that is the case. Struggling is exhausting, and I feel like I'm never moving forward. And we do have an update. Okay. Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Now, for some good news, I had my meeting, and it was interesting on so many levels. Okay. Interesting. I had been preparing for the worst since it was scheduled in my calendar. I've been so used to having my feelings dismissed and invalidated that I had no reason to think this would be any different. And then something wonderful happened. My manager listened to me, asked me questions about what I needed, asked questions about my story outside of work, much of which he knew about already, but there were significant gaps to fill in, and he empathized with me on every point I made. I wasn't met with a look of confusion that suggested I was being overdramatic or that I was the problem. He couldn't go into too much detail for obvious reasons, but he wasn't shocked by anything I was telling him. Oh, wow.
Great, then.
Yeah. So this is probably, we've gotten some other complaints about this person.
Yeah.
Wow. He said that this was already on his radar and that things were happening in the background with this person, and that my case simply added to the pile and gave him more to go with. Wow. I feel a firing coming on soon. He immediately made arrangements so that I only have to report to him whilst he finalizes the official bits and bobs. And he assured me that I will never have to refer to this woman for anything ever again. Wow. How wonderful. Such a relief.
Switch up from some other ones that we've read.
Right. He even went a step further and worked with me to make a contingency plan in case there's ever an occasion where I may have to report to her on rare occasions where there's a shortage of supervisors due to annual leave or sickness. Wow. He checked in on me throughout the day to make sure I was okay, told me that I had done nothing wrong, and that my quality of work was more than satisfactory. This man will never know how much he has truly given me today. He has given me safety, validation, and for once in my 33 years, my inner child has not only been heard, but also supported. It's the strangest and most wonderful feeling. And you could feel so wonderful if you listen to full episodes of stories just like this one on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search OK Storytime. But there's a little bit more to this story, but wow.
It just went so well.
Everything is going amazingly.
Everything's great.
This is an amazing boss.
The A+ boss.
A+.
That is like exactly how to handle that, I feel like.
Oh my gosh. Wow. There's a little bit more. I want to finish with a message to anyone who may be going through a similar situation. Please speak up. I can't say that your result will be the same as mine, but the biggest thing I took away from that meeting is that other people have suffered because of this woman's behavior. For all I know, my case may be the final straw that gives my manager the ammunition he needs to implement real change. It's terrifying, and if you're anything like me, speaking up for yourself is a foreign concept. But please, just do it for yourself, and who knows who else you'll end up helping in the process. I'm asleep like a happy baby tonight. And there are a few comments. I'm super happy for you. I'm hopeful one day I can be as brave as you to stand up and say my mental health is non-negotiable. I too have been brought up by a self-absorbed mother, and the gaslighting and trauma really did a number on my interactions at work. I worked myself to the bone to prove my mother I care and love her. Likewise, I worked myself to the bone to prove to my workplace that I am a hard worker and team player. All this hard work has gotten me nothing but offhanded comments at my work on my not so great mental health days. And that's the end of that story.
My manager ruined my career, so I disappeared.
Get out of there, girl.
My manager has always been difficult to deal with. She nitpicks everything. She doesn't like the inflection and tone of my voice when giving presentations, even though the presentations themselves are fine. She criticized my decision to skip optional happy hours during offsites. She needs to read every email I send to her boss and will change things like "have a good week" to "have a good day." By the way, this comes from CamelZ4. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
And I'm Angie.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says she constantly oversteps her role and wants me to take the blame when it blows up. She'll give me projects where the business partner has specifically told us they don't find value in our partnership, and she forces me to continue anyway. Recently, she got a new boss, Manager 2, who is someone I'd worked indirectly under in the past. Manager 2 is somehow even worse.
No.
I won't go into details, but as an example, Manager 2 put a previous manager of mine in the hospital from stress.
Oh my gosh.
Once my previous manager returned from medical leave, Manager 2 forced her to resign.
This all feels so illegal.
It's 100%. When I found out Manager 2 was becoming my manager's new manager, I had a conversation with my manager about furthering my career in other roles. As a note, my company sends managers notifications whenever you apply to an internal role, so I needed to have this discussion with her. Since that point, she's been speed running my termination. I went from a positive mid-year review to being put on a coaching plan within a month. All the examples of my poor performance were collected immediately following the conversation about furthering my career. The examples were things like being unavailable because I had a doctor's appointment, missing a deadline because I was out sick, and other general nonsense that's purely subjective and incredibly difficult to prove, like not doing what's best for our clients.
So vague.
She delivered the coaching plan, which is essentially a precursor to a PIP, which is a performance improvement plan, a week after I applied to a new role. Then 3 weeks went by where she made no mention of my performance or the coaching plan. The hiring manager for the role I applied to reached out to her about my interest And surprise, surprise, 3 days later, she let me know I was still not meeting performance expectations and planned to put me on a PIP, which would restrict me from accepting the role. The kicker is that because she's been out of the office a lot recently, she's logistically only given me 8 business days to show improvement from when the coaching plan was delivered to threatening the PIP. Our company doesn't have specific guidelines for the performance management process, but the whole thing typically takes about a year. Mine has taken less than a month. The double kicker is that after she let me know I was going to be put on a PIP, I called my former coworker who was laid off to get his opinion. She did the same thing to him. Right down to the same language and tactics to manage him out. Only she got lucky that we were doing layoffs around that time and could recommend his name without having to go through the formal firing process. I've accepted she's going to fire me as soon as she feasibly can, and I can't go over her head because manager 2 is probably frothing at the mouth over this. But honestly, she can win this one. I can escape her, but she'll always be trapped with herself.
Whoa.
Okay. We
Deep.
have a comment. Oh, wow. I know what you're going through. It angers me so much that people can get away with this every day in corporate America. What a miserable place to work. It's not worth it. It's just not. Those managers make it miserable to work because they're so insecure and miserable that they have to constantly deflect and manipulate the situation. How sad to be like those managers. Sad, pathetic way to live. We have an update.
Oh my gosh.
But
This kind of feels like a king that's, executing all of their like subjects.
their whole court and everything.
Right. And it's like, well, you're gonna have no one to rule after
Right.
all of this.
What happens when you fired the whole company?
Yeah, and just like getting rid of them for stupid or like no reason at all.
Because you don't like how I sound when I give presentations.
Yeah, like such silly little things that you're doing.
Yeah.
No actual like proper feedback. That's so ridiculous.
Ugh. Update. Well, she did it. I predicted that the hiring manager of the new internal job I applied for would call her up as a courtesy before extending an offer to me, and she'd put him on hold, submit the PIP, and then tell him I actually couldn't accept because I was no longer in good standing with the company. And that's exactly what happened.
Whoa.
That's crazy. That is some like disgusting roundabout ways to be
Yeah.
like, no, you can't take this job. Like
Right.
in the phone call,
Yeah.
you're doing that.
My goodness.
He contacted her to extend an offer. She bashed me to the point where the hiring manager set up a meeting with me to tell me what she said. And then 2 days after their phone call, she put me on a PIP. I'm stuck on her team. Which also, why does she want you on her team? She doesn't like you.
Right.
I'm not eligible to receive our end-year bonus, which is a huge part of our total compensation. I am not eligible to go on my sabbatical.
Oh my gosh.
She's the devil in a skin suit. Her reason for escalating to a PIP was that one time I had to reschedule a one-on-one with her because I was actively dealing with a time-sensitive work emergency. Yes, she was aware of the situation, and I even provided her proof I was on the phone with someone else during our meeting because I knew she would try to use that against me. But of course, she spun the narrative to constitute it as avoiding coaching. When she delivered the PIP, I brought up that I had been speaking to HR and employment attorneys because her behavior constitutes intimidation and she's now financially harming me. She immediately backed down and offered to talk to the hiring manager to smooth things over. Figures she has no spine. We have a comment.
Oh boy.
That's awful. I hope you end up being able to leave her team. It's very telling that she did all of this the moment she found out you were trying to leave. I also hope you talking to an employment attorney helps because this seems like a clear-cut case of retaliation to me. I'm not a lawyer though. Update 2. The
boy.
final update.
Oh boy. I'm so nervous.
I know. What
But-
do you think happened?
Oh gosh. I mean, what I hope happens.
Yeah.
So she talks to like some higher ups and they're like, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
You're right. Here's your bonus. Here's the sabbatical.
You're taking off your PIP.
Yeah, exactly. Like I hope everything is undone, but I feel like it might not go down that way.
Yeah. I need this boss to be as cool as the boss from the last story.
Me too.
Update 2, a final update to well, she did it. My raging, self-absorbed manager was speed running to terminate me, advancing from first warning ever to PIP in about 10 business days over ridiculous things like taking 7 minutes to reply to her chats. I was in the middle of applying for another job internally, and just as I suspected, she blocked me from accepting the role by putting me on the PIP immediately after the hiring manager courtesy called her to let her know he wanted to hire me. After some words, she offered to make things right with the hiring manager because I threatened to further escalate with HR and employment attorneys. The next day, like the spineless jellyfish she is, she chatted me to let me know she talked to her boss and the PIP would be upheld because your role is your primary responsibility before you move on to something else, right? You mean the role I was doing exceptionally well in until you got wind I wanted to move to something else? Doesn't seem like you're giving me a chance to excel in it when you have me rewrite the same email 13 times because it never meets your illusory approval. I realized I was trapped and had come to a fork in the road. Try to fight the PIP and probably be fired in a week's time, or let her have what she was asking for. If you want me gone, fine, but not on your terms. Thankfully, I had been talking to a psychiatrist about the scenario because it was taking such a toll on my mental health. After I got the chat about the PIP being upheld, I emailed my psychiatrist and asked if she would approve a short-term disability leave for mental health. She said yes, with flying colors. I immediately emailed my boss. I will be going on short-term disability leave, effective immediately. My return date is unknown. I slammed my laptop shut, blocked her phone number, and never heard from her again. I have been on paid and unpaid leave for about 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
And by the way, you can listen to months worth of episodes with full stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, search up OK Storytime. We've got a little bit left.
I, first of all, think that it kind of sucks that some of that is unpaid. I'm glad some of it is paid.
Yeah.
But I would hope that all of it was. But I feel like if I was above this manager, I would see this and be like, yo, what
the heck?
Why is she going on this sabbatical? What did you do?
Right.
But I digress.
But also great quick thinking.
Yeah.
To go like straight to your psychiatrist with that.
Yeah, honestly.
We got a little bit more. Of course, a lot of that 6 months was dedicated to unraveling the mess that came with all of this, a PTSD diagnosis, and battling some very dark thoughts. But I'm happy to say that during that time, I was able to leverage my network and get 2 job offers, one of which I accepted. I'll be getting a nice pay bump and a fully remote opportunity. Unsurprisingly, I emailed her my resignation and she never replied. I haven't started my new job yet, but my future boss sent me an amazing little care package after I accepted the role, so I'm hoping she will be a total 180 from the last one. To everyone struggling with something similar, do not put your mental health in jeopardy over these worthless nutballs. It's not worth it. No job is worth permanently damaging your self-esteem and mental health. That is the end of that story.